I want to give some credit here to the educators that developed these fraction activities and funded by the National Science Foundation. And click down here to where they've got links to these different activities for teaching about fractions. And we're going to use the fair share French fry for this lesson. So here's what you can do with this. So share it on the Jamboard so the student can edit, and then have them do a couple different things. There's a lot of things you can do this. This is a big French fry. And you can tell them they are going to share this with 2 friends and have them take the pen and draw where they would cut it in order to get enough equal parts. And ask them, well, if you're sharing it with 2 friends, how many parts do you need? They need 3. And then have them draw the lines, and then talk about the fact that it's 2 lines gives you 3 pieces, and that's the number of spaces or the number of pieces, not the number of lines. It's always 1 less line, so you can talk about that. And then have them erase it, and maybe have them use a big number. You can just do whatever you want with this. There's a lot you can do, but say they want to break it into 10 and make it an even number, 10 equal parts. And they'll probably start here and ask them how many lines are you going to draw, so they know ahead of time. And they'll probably start, and then they'll have to get the eraser because they'll get to the end and the last piece is either way too big or way too small, because it's just hard to estimate for that many. So then you can talk about having a strategy, if it's an even number, to make a line in the middle. So we want 10 equal pieces. They can pretty much find the middle. It doesn't have to be exact, which this isn't. And then ask them, okay, how many lines did you need altogether? They need 9 if they're going to have 10 equal pieces. If they put a line in the middle, now they need 8. So they need 4 lines on each side. And you'll have them use the strategy. It's much easier to divide this 4 lines over here. Of course, it won't be perfect. That's just much easier than trying to space out 9 lines. So you can talk about that strategy, do another even number, then maybe just stick with the evens, depending on your student. Or if you've got a student who you can help them erase too, because you can both edit. You might have them help you figure out a strategy for if you want an odd number. Now on the next slide, I've got a little French fry. And you can use this one to tell them this is their share of one French fry that 2 friends shared equally with them. So there's 3 kids, and this is their share. And you can ask them, what's the fractional part of the French fry that this is? To have them say 1/3 and write 1/3, have them get the pen and write it, and then have them get the pen. If this is your share of the French fry that got shared with 2 of your other friends, how big was the French fry? And have them draw the other 2 to iterate out here to show how big the original French fry was. And then you can modify this, if it was you shared it with 1 other friend, how big was the French fry? Now on the third slide, we've got 4 French fries. So you can ask them a lot of different fraction questions with this. You could say, this is your share of the bag of French fries, and it was shared with 2 other friends. How many French fries were in the original bag? And see, they've got to think about fractions a different way to answer this question. So if 4 is what you got, and there were 3 of you and you all got the same number, then what 4 times 3 is 12. There must have been 12 French fries in that bag. And then have them write what's the fraction that tells your share of the French fries. and it is 4 out of 12 because there were 12 in the bag and you got 4. And you can copy and paste so you have different numbers of French fries and make up questions like that where they figure out what was the original size. You can also ask them if this is the whole bag and you're sharing it with one person, or you could even have them break a French fry and get a fractional part of a French fry to share these 4 with 3 friends. If they've got 3 kids who are going to share these 4 French fries, they got to break this one into thirds, and then how much does everybody get? Everybody gets 1 and a third, and have them write that. Here on this slide, I've got 18 French fries, and you can make up all sorts of math problems with this that some involve fractions, or at least fractional thinking. You could ask them, tell them, how many French fries do we have? And count them, or if you want to save time, just tell them there's 18 French fries here. How many kids could we share these French fries with without having to break one? We could share them with 9 kids, and it's actually you're asking them what are the factors of 18. You could share them with 2 kids. You could share them with 9 kids. You could share them with 3 kids. Have them figure out what are the number of kids who could share these French fries without having to break one, and then talk about what that means. Well, 18 is even, so 2, obviously. Have them add the digits together. 8 plus 1 is 9, so we know 9 is a factor. You can just talk about factors of numbers and how you find factors of 18. So even if they're finished with fractions and that's not what they're doing in the classroom, a lesson like this reinforces a lot of concepts. Try to use the words numerator and denominator and factor and fraction so that they learn these mathematical words, because the words in math are pretty big for elementary school kids. They're like 8th grade reading level, so the more you can help them practice using the right vocabulary, the better. If there's still time, those other 4 slides might have taken a whole half hour if that's how long you're working with a kid. But if there's still time, you might do something like this. You might say, go back to the slide where you've got the 4 French fries that are your share of a bag that was shared with 3 kids, and ask more questions about that, like your share was 4 and there were 12 in the bag, so you got 4 12s. How many other French fries were there besides the ones you got? Well, 3 people got 4 12s. So have them write all 3 of those down. So this is everybody's share. And how many French fries were in the whole bag? If you put them all back, how many do you have? You put them all back, you got 12 12s. And point out that the 12, the denominator, and use the words, the denominator doesn't change because that's how many French fries that there were in the bag. The numerator is what changes when you talk about different scenarios, because it is how many French fries out of the 12 you're talking about. If how many were left after you got your share, it would be 8 12s. And you're just adding the numerator. And they may not be adding fractions yet. They may not know that you have to have common denominators. But whether they know that or not, they can understand this concept. The number of French fries in the bag never changed. What's changing is whether you're talking about the whole bag, which is 12 out of 12, or 8 out of 12, which is the part you didn't get, or 4 12ths. It just will help lay the groundwork for later understanding that you add the numerators when you add fractions and the denominator doesn't change. Now notice that all of these activities don't actually show them how to compute. And you don't want to give them ways to compute or algorithms for doing arithmetic problems, because they might be using some other way of doing it in their classroom, and the teacher won't want you to show them a different way to do things. But in each of these different Jambord slides, we're just talking about fractions. We're not actually computing things in any certain way. So this can help reinforce the concepts without possibly contradicting something that they're learning how to do in class.